readers. Welcome back to The Adulterous Whore. I'm your host, Stacey. I have the biggest thing going on right now. I am on with an author. I am going to be fangirling like a Momo today because they are like my Justin Biebers. Welcome, JL Rosenauer. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Vibrating. I mean, amazing. I'm so excited. Like, I finished your book last week and I was just like, my God, I need the next one.
I love that. Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. So let's start off by telling everybody about your book. Tell them exactly what it's about. Just tell us everything.
Do I need to do like a spoiler alert before I start, getting into this?
You might want to do that. I'm a little bit bad for spoilers, so people are well used to it.
So it starts out with Arielle, and her name is Arielle of Black Creek, and she is determined to not be like her dad and go into a different role. And so she is going to join Sandoric War College, and she's determined to be a writer. She's going to bond with the dragon, and she's going to be a writer. And through this process, she has learned that maybe her dad made a lot more enemies than she thought she did. And she's the sole center of some very angry cadets that hate her father, and they're taking it out on her. And so she also, along the way, is going to go through some pretty rigorous basic training. So this book sets up to have a basic training session that's kind of similar to our style military, 8 weeks. And then after that, she'll go into her own branch and do that kind of training. And in that process, she meets Zane, and he is her mate, her bond, her lifelong person. And she's not ready for that because she was prepared to not meet anybody and not do anything with any guys. And throughout the story, she hints through some, promiscuous teenage years. And so she was really not prepared for him. And he, swept her off her feet. And that kind of goes into that. And just follows her journey through going through this college and also navigating this relationship with Zane. And he is somebody that she actually never intended to ever probably get close to, as he is a winged Drusarian. And she's actually quite scared of them because of attacks she had. I won't spoil that too much. I'll let you read that. And it's kind of, trigger warning. You should definitely read those for this book. It gets pretty heavy in there. And so then through the end, it turns out, she gets bonded to the dragon she wants. I'll let you find that one out because that one's a good one. I love the dragon. I love her. And so then things start going a little crazy in the college, and people start dropping dead, and things get a little crazy, and they go back home for holidays. And turns out her dad is in with Zane's dad, and that was unexpected.
Yes.
And then her dad really reveals some things at the very end about her mom's death, and then her power explodes into a shadow summoner, which they haven't seen in millennia. So it's kind of leaves you on that cliffhanger to find out what happens in book 2.
Oh, yeah. I had goosebumps. When I got to that part, I was like, I was like, wow. Now, you went on the route of dragons. I absolutely love dragon novels, especially when they're done right. Did you have an easy or hard time coming up with a fresh take on dragon fantasy books?
Yes and no. It was hard because there are so many other dragon books out there. So it's like trying to make your own unique part to your own dragon world without trying to feel like you're taking from someone else's book or feeling like it's too much into someone else's book. So that is always so hard because if you look up like any kind of dragon novels, there's over dozens of them. And so that was kind of hard. In my mind, I kind of knew what I wanted to go with that. And so I was like really trying to piece that together. So I knew what I wanted, but I was the part of executing it and not making sure I wasn't crossing into other novels that was the hard part.
Oh, I bet. So what inspired you to write a fantasy book in the first place?
So I'll go back a little bit and tell you that I've wanted to write a book since I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I used to write poems all the time, and I actually was at one point had a published one. I don't even know the website to it. I have a box somewhere that has a whole bunch of old poems. They're very cringeworthy. So I was really into doing that when I was younger. I'd always wanted to write a book. Obviously that was 21 years ago, over 20 years ago, and that was not a thing back then. Like, that was hard. That writing a book
Oh,
and getting submitted was hard. There self-publishing wasn't a thing. And
no.
so then I had kids. And back to back I had kids starting at 15 and I had 4 of them back to back every 2 years. And so
Oh,
like
wow.
my life was dry. I was into that. I didn't
Yeah.
have time for anything else. I was raising children. And so in my 20s I also kind of thought I was like I really would love to do this and I just was like back again to the it's so complicated. And so
Yeah.
then, long story short, there was a divorce in there, got with my current husband, we had 2 more children, and so then I was in the thicket of all the things again. And my youngest now is almost 9. And so I was like finally hit it and I wanted to write a book, but I'd always wanted to write a romance book. So didn't really haven't delve into fantasy to be honest until this year. And so but I didn't know how to do a romance book. And make it unique.
Yeah.
Yes, I could do the typical boy meets girl and they have their problems and then happily ever ever. But I feel like that was where my struggle always was where was I going to go with this? And so romance really opened up into something else. And when I like found the fantasy part of it, I was like, I can really go into this. Like when you romance, I feel like you got to make it somewhat real. Whereas fantasy, I can make this as wild and crazy as my brain will let me, right?
Oh, yeah.
And, and so that was where it was really hit to me where I was like, this is where I want to go. So romance part was always there. Just the fantasy was more like hit me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. 6 kids. I also have 6 kids. And mine range from like 23 down to 5.
Yeah.
It's
There's so
crazy
many.
being a mom. Yeah, it's crazy being a mom. Absolutely crazy. So the title, I love it. I love the title, Black Wing and Shadows. Where did you come up with that?
I mean, and it's not even a complicated. It's just that I wanted 2 pieces from both Zane and a piece from Ari. And
Oh,
so Zane was that he was in the black wing of
right.
his his group. And it's not said much. It's like said once or twice into there. So you kind of had to like pay attention to that part of it. And then
Yeah,
obviously shadows for her. So
right. That makes complete sense. Okay.
yeah.
Zane. Okay. Kind of in love with him.
He's kind of amazing.
Really is. But did you base any of his characteristics on people that you actually know in real life?
No, probably not like his personality, basics, not really. Like in the beginning of the book, it says, all these characters are fiction and they're based off no real people. That's what I'm supposed to say, right?
Yeah.
But what I will tell you is my husband is conveniently, a 5'10" man with very, very, very pale blue eyes. And once upon a time before, his hair turned gray, it was blondish. So,
Well, there we go.
maybe just a little bit off that.
How do you feel about women now lusting after, like, kind of your husband? Like, you're okay with that? Okay,
He
good.
looks totally different now. He's lost a couple inches over the years. He's gonna totally kill me for saying that. His hair's gray now. It's fine.
Okay. So past husband. That's good to know. That's good to know. So what made you decide to go, like, the smutty route with your fantasy? Because you kinda went smut
I
fantasy.
think I've always been that like thought that was a great genre to go into. So I should also say that like I'm very openly like I'm very open in that sense in the way like of sexuality and all the things like that. I'm open with my kids. I was a boudoir photographer, so that just like nothing actually phases me. I've also caught babies. So like that was not like to me that just felt where I needed to go with it and also that's also what the readers want to be honest. Like that's what I want as a reader,
Yeah.
but that's what readers want. That's what, most of us are reading it for. So some of us not, but most of us are reading it for, that spice. So yeah, it had to come.
Has any of your family members, like, read the book? Like, did it make you uncomfortable at all?
No, they have not read the book yet. I'm not sure. I'm not uncomfortable with it. My kids, I'm very open with my older kids. And I have, obviously young adults. And so 2 of them actually ordered the book already and they've got pre-orders and so they already ordered it. And so they're one's 21, one's 19. And so I highly doubt they'll ever read it. It'll probably be a chore free. The one his wife is going to read it, but the other 2 are just going to sit on their shelves, right?
Yeah.
My mom's very open. My mom has been probably one reason why I read books as a younger kid. I never not seen my mom with a book in her hand growing up, so she was always reading chapter books all the time. I mean, hers was more like psychological thrillers, but still, nonetheless,
Yeah.
she was into that.
Yeah.
And so I don't care if she reads it, but now my dad said he's buying it. Now I'm a little bit more concerned about my dad reading this, and I did tell him. I've given him multiple warnings, and I'm like, hey, this is very spicy. I'm like, and he's like, it's okay, and I'm like, I mean,
You were warned,
okay.
Dad. You were warned.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's completely awesome.
So,
My
yeah.
mom's not a smart reader at all. Like anything with sexual content, she doesn't read. She reads thrillers. Like she'll read,
Right.
and even Anne Rice made her a little comfortable with like Interview with the Vampire. So I just wonder because I'm like, my mom definitely. If that was me, my mom would be like, I'm not reading it. I'm not buying it. Like, that's
No,
all.
my mom's already like, "I want my copy," so she's already getting the copy, she wants it. My biggest struggle is my younger kids, the 2 younger ones, and they're like, "I want," like they're like, "I can wanna take this book to school." I'm like, "No, you're not. You can't even read this book. Stay away from the
That's
book." Yeah,
That's hilarious. Your family supports you. I kind of love
yeah,
that. So, how important was it for you to have that Zen and Oriella? That's how you say it, right? Oriella?
yeah, Arielle, yeah.
Ariella, that they had to be soulmates, not just how important to the story was that for you?
Me, it was very important. I from the get-go, I had already like before when I was doing the outlining and planning it out, I had known from the get-go that I was going to have a mated couple in there, and that's what, the female character was gonna be mated to a male. And so I had already known from the like very before I even started writing that that was my intention with her, and that's where I really wanted to go with this story. I wanted to have a true, like, really loving relationship here. I wanted to represent, really loving and very open relationship between them, so no miscommunication tropes happening with the two of them. I just really want them to be a very supportive, loving relationship. And that's just kind of where I wanted to go with this first book. I have plans for other stories that are going to be much more wild in the future, but not this story. This story, I want them to be like the one that you yearn for in life.
But yeah, no, I love that because I hate miscommunication trope. It's probably my least favorite trope with the third act breakup and the second chance stuff in
Yeah.
romance. So I was really grateful. And I was like, I have to ask that. I have to ask that. Now,
Yeah.
where did you come up with her name? Like, it's so pretty. Where did you find that?
So this is with all the names that I've kind of like named throughout the story. I named most of my people all before I started too. I kind of went through like basically a baby name website and typed in like ancient or very unique names and kind of went from there and just like went through and was like clicked it, see what they was like named for. Some of them I picked their name off of like names that meant XYZ and then I'd
Yeah.
find their name, right?
Oh,
And
cool.
so I found hers that kind of that way. And so hers names means golden. So and I think and like very like gives off like happy sunshine vibes. And so that's kind of what I envision her for to be. I
Yeah.
envision her to be mostly happy, but also I want her to struggle as well because not that I want people to struggle, but I want people to see that she does struggle. She's not always happy, and you can kind of see that in the book that happens for a bit where she's talks about being depressed, and then she kind of comes out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's kinda where I wanted to go with her. I seen the name, I came across it, and I was like, "You know what? I love that name." That name spoke to me, and I was like, "That's it. That's gonna be her name." And I
Oh,
also wanted a name that was long, but had a nickname.
yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was I'd never seen it before, and I was like, "This is so pretty. This is so pretty."
Yeah.
It's a shame I've stopped having kids because that would have been because I've got 4 girls. It would have been lovely. Who's your favorite character out of the book? Who's your favorite?
Probably Zane or maybe Esme.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably
I
those
kind
2.
of thought you
One of
were
those
gonna
2.
go
I
there.
can't yeah, yeah. I don't wanna say, like, spoil that too much, but I love Esme. I am that's my spirit.
I love it. I love it. So you added in different creatures in this one. Like you didn't just go for dragons. So you had dragons, griffins, and phoenixes, right? Which one would you have picked if you had to pick to ride? What would you have
A
picked?
dragon. Definitely a dragon. I was torn on it. I love dragons, obviously, like, I've loved dragons forever. I'm gonna tell you that one of my favorite cartoons, like, cartoon movies is How to Train a Dragon. We literally went to the movie theater. So, like, that has been we had a cat that literally looked like Toothless, and that was her
Oh,
nickname for a long time, and so that is definitely top tier of my top movies, has been for a really long time. I've just always have loved dragons, and so that was my choice, but also I struggled because I also love the phoenix. I love what the phoenix represents. The phoenix,
yeah.
rising from falling and becoming on, that rise of from the ashes kind of thing. And so I love that. And so I
Yeah.
did struggle with that. And so in the future, I think there will be, other stories that will be not Zane and Ari's, but featuring other dragons or
I
other riders.
love that. So you're gonna do some spin-offs then.
There are plans to be spinoffs. So and
So
that's
this
why I set this up like
Yeah.
this. So that way my plan is that if once I write their story, I can write other stories, but not tied to their story. So
But
that's
kind of
why
be
so
set
this
in
one's a
first.
little.
Like,
Right,
still in the
yeah,
same
like
verse though?
same, yeah, same, like, same world, but different, so maybe, like, 5 years from now, another person just has their couple struggles or whatever, and is
Yes.
there and goes through this process, but it has nothing really tied to, like, Ari and Zayn. They may be mentioned, like, as, like, like, immaculate couple that was here before or something, but nothing,
Yeah.
like, that wouldn't really so somebody could pick up that series and read it without having to read the first series. The first book will probably obviously give that good background, but it wouldn't be necessary.
So how many books are you planning just on their character arc? Like, how many books are you thinking? You going with trilogy or
Yeah,
yeah?
trilogy, yeah. That's
Yeah.
my hope, that's my goal, but I know, like, when I'm starting to write and I get into this, I'm like, "Oh, I need so much more time to really write out their story." Like, in this book, when I was getting towards, like, there, I knew I didn't wanna go too much over 500 pages, and so I
Yeah.
was like and I was creeping up there on the word count, and I was like, "Oh, man, I'm gonna need to tie this up," and I was like and I kinda had really didn't wanna tie it up until, like, spring next year,
Yeah.
springtime, like, for them, and then it didn't work out, like, obviously, I got by the time I
Right.
got there, and so but with that said, I feel like the second story that I'm working on, I won't have to add in a bunch of world building, so
Yeah.
then I don't have that part to worry about so much. I can
Yeah.
add some things and, like, clarify things, but I don't need to, like, fully put in a full picture, so I feel like it'll go better, so my goal is 3.
Cool. Yeah, because then you can just kinda get the story pushed further along once you've got all the world building and stuff out of the way. It
Right.
must be a really complex thing to write fantasy because you have to make sure your characters are there, the plot's there, the world building's there, everything ties in together. Like, I don't envy you. That sounds like
Yeah.
a lot of work. A lot of
I
work.
mean, it is. I actually have a whole Google Doc and it's literally titled book info. And it literally has categories like characters and, classes and all these things broken down. And I write down such and such character. I put them down as such and such height, their skin tone, their hair color, their eye color.
Yeah.
Anytime I put a descriptor in, I make sure I put it there. And so that way, when I'm writing their story they're in and I talk about them again or something, I can refer back to there and make sure that I'm being consistent along the line, but it's hard. It's a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
it was a lot of planning coming into this to get all that into down first.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things that could become a plot hole later on, especially if you haven't made notes. I'm terrible with that. I have to have Post-its and photographs of Post-its. So I couldn't even imagine what you have to go through to even keep it all tied together. I am in awe of you. I really, really am. So you kind of went for a dual, like a point of view where you went for the dual point of view. What made you decide to give us Zane's point of view and not just Ariella's?
I I knew that from the beginning too, that I was gonna do that. I love when a story does that for myself as a reader. I love when we get the main male's character's point of view because sometimes I yearn for that. When I'm reading the story, I'm like, man, I really, really want to know what they're thinking right now. Like, and so sometimes that's what I've thought. And I was like, so I was like, I want to put that in there. I want to add his point of view into there and like really give him a spotlight on, his feelings, kind of some of the things that like are going through that maybe some secrets maybe he's holding on to that he hasn't really told her, but the
Yeah.
readers get to like see that side and know that, oh wow, he's got the secret. When is he going to tell her? So that was kind of my mindset on that. So yeah, I knew from the get go that I really wanted to, go into that. And book two will have quite a bit of crossover as well. So both characters talking.
I love that. So if you were gonna do an audiobook and you could have any celebrity narrate both characters, who would you pick?
I have no clue for Ariella. I really like I thought I had on this for like a couple days and I was like, I really don't know. Like I don't know, honestly, and I really don't even barely even watch TV these days. So I'm like, I don't even know. But for him, I knew it would be either Ian Somerhalder or it just blinked my mind, but Joseph Morgan. Either one was
Ooh.
really great. Their voices are just chef's kiss. And so I could go with either one of those.
So you're a
And
Vampire
there it
Diaries girl then.
yeah. Oh,
You
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Vampire Diaries.
absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I love that. I love that. Now you went and added in Alex, who is a friend of Arielle's when she was young and happens to be best friends with Zayn now. What do you think added to the story with you adding the love triangle in, especially as they were both friends with the same person? Like, how do you think that rounded the story out when it comes to their relationship?
I think it's just conflict. I needed to add conflict in. And that's kind of was one way I could add conflict in, but not have a huge conflict in.
Yeah,
But also there's going to be comes into more of that, the thing with them is, I talk about Alex and Ari's story, theirs really was like a more forced proximity kind of story. They really just dated for because they grew up together. They were best
yeah,
friends. It was one of those kind of stories. And so that's kind of where I wanted to hint at that, and that's why in the story when they talk about that, Zane isn't really upset about it. He's just like, it is what it is, and it's just more Alex is more hung up on it. And so, but because of that, I think the goal of that is to really elaborate to her, have more support people for her and have more
yeah,
friendships behind her. It's
yeah,
just a very complex story for them and it starts out kind of messy, and so
yeah,
as you can get to the end of it, the mess it gets better, and he's more supportive of her and you can see that like he still loves her,
yeah.
but he's accepted that that's not going to be a love of romance anymore.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of love triangles, but I think you dealt with it in a really effective manner. I didn't
Right.
feel, like the Twilight thing where it was like Edward and
Yeah, yeah,
Jacob.
yeah.
I was like,
Choose, choose.
hated that. You
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
covered this in a really delicate way, and I actually really enjoyed that because I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
I love triangle, and I was like, oh, actually, this was
No,
okay.
no. No, no, not love triangles. It's just an ex that's really a friend for her and, but it's complicated for him because he had more
Yeah,
feelings than and she had already let go of that. And so, and I think it'll be highlighted, a little bit more if you really think about like putting all the pieces together of their relationship, some of the hints she talks about
yeah,
their relationship really started after she was attacked and or started right before she got attacked and then she got attacked and that really kind of set their relationship and kind of caused a trauma for both of them and didn't really
yeah.
allow them to grow, whereas Zane is like a fresh start for her, so but Alex is supportive for her, so
Yeah. I like that. I think you can have male friends and it could be okay. Bit
yeah.
harder when you've already gone there, but no, I really
Yeah.
liked that. I liked that. I thought that it was a really compassionate way of bringing them back round in a full circle as well. I
Right,
really
right.
liked that. Now we see that she finds a letter from her mother and it has some really key information in there. Why was it so important for you for her to find this letter so much later after the death of her mother, rather than it happening when she was younger?
So for her letter story, it was kind of one of those her mom gave her a medical bag that she was supposed to get when she went to and joined the writer's branch that she was going to get. And that's kind of the process of why she got it then. Her mom
Okay.
hid it in there because that's she was supposed to get this bag. And I in book 2 it's going to be talked about a little bit more and like, discussed a little bit more on some of those details. So you're kind of
Right.
left in book 1 like, "Wait, what is this? Why did this happen?" And so
Yeah.
in book 2, you're going to learn a lot more things, a lot more hidden secrets are going to come out.
Right.
And so, and it's going to touch more onto the mother's side of these things. And so, but it was important for it to me, it was when as a writer, it was my way of giving information without, in a creative way to
Yeah.
write to the readers, and that's kind of where I went with that is that. And so then I'm going to tie it into some more things into book 2. So,
It's awesome. I thought it was very clever the way that you did that. And especially with the second letter when she found that some really troubling things kind of came to light
mm,
for her. Is that going to be a really big driving force for her going forward into book 2? The things
oh
that she
yeah.
found out in that letter and then obviously what happens at the end with her dad?
Yeah. So that's gonna be a huge, like, focal point into the next one, talking about some of those things. That's gonna be a resolved thing that happens in book 2. So, yeah, that's definitely in the works here as I'm writing book 2. So
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I sat down and I pretty much finished it in one day. Like, I had to stop because, I'm a parent. I had to stop. But I was, like, walking around with because I have an iPad. I had it on Apple Books, and I'm walking around, like, trying not to hit stop. My husband's like, "You could put that down." I'm like, "No, I can't. No, I can't." Because I was really zoned into what you had written. I thought your writing was really it was quite beautiful, and I felt really connected. I do this
Yay.
thing, and it's nothing personal, but I kinda go looking for plot holes, and I couldn't find any. So kudos to you because I was hoping to go, "Did you notice?" And I could find them.
I tried really hard. I really like I said, that keeping the notes, keeping my active Google Notes really, really did help with that. Like down
Good.
to like I kept down dates. Like I'm talking like I have on December 15th, this is when this happened. On December, like down to all these little things, like all the little needed gritty details, I kept documented. And that's because honestly, it's not like I read books and sometimes I'll miss those things. I'm not like I don't like usually read a book and I'm like overly analyzing a book. But I have been on enough forums to know that other readers do stuff like that, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Wait, but you said on what this page, the writer said this, and then on this page they said this," and so and I was like or like they switched powers or something, and I was like, "Oh no, we're gonna keep this straight." So I was like, "I'm not doing that."
It was absolutely incredible. I don't usually like when I used to read all the time, I would read the story and I didn't catch those things. But now that I'm deep diving on books with on another podcast, I'm like I'm catching things I wouldn't normally catch. And it's exciting to see if like the author knew. And I'm like, ooh, and I was like, I can't find anything. And I was really bummed. I'm like, this is so great. There's nothing here. There's nothing here is perfection. My husband was like, "You seem really sad about that." And I'm like, "What? I was hoping to find something, but I could find nothing." So I'm absolutely impressed with you there. How long did it take
I
you?
mean,
Yeah.
like, you'll be shocked to know it did not take me a whole horrible long time. 3.5 for the actual writing, probably a month-ish for the planning part prior to the writing. There was a lot of, weekends that I spent the whole entire like, I'm wake up at 7 o'clock, didn't go to bed until, 10 or 11 o'clock. So I spent the whole
Wow.
entire day writing, and so there's also a lot of days where my husband was working at, like, his 2nd job, so he wouldn't
Yeah.
come home for the evening, and my kids are, like, at the age where they don't wanna bye, see you later. They're doing their own thing. So I'm just
Yes,
sitting here
yes.
like, okay, cool. I'll just go write. So I was spent a
Yeah.
lot of like nights, writing from, 5 to 10, 11 o'clock at night. So it may seem like it was a short time, but really I was like into it. I also have ADHD really bad. So I get super hyper focused on things when I get like my mindset to it. I am like, I hyper fixate and I'm like, I have to write this and I have to get it done, 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 done.
I
And
love that.
so that's kind of where I was at. About halfway to 3/4 of the way, there was a point where I was, like got, like a writer's block,
Yeah.
and I was like, "I don't know where I wanna go," and I literally stopped writing for about a week and a half or 2, and then during that time, I ended up reading some other books, and I was like, "Let me just read some other books because my brain is, like, mush right now," and
Yeah.
so then I was like and of course, it was in August, and so the kids were going back to school, and we were starting sports up again, and so, like, I was like, "Oh, everything feels so chaotic," and so I took
Yep.
that little time and refocused, and then I was able to, like, hammer down and finish it out. And so that's kinda really but it just comes down to I spent a lot of like, evenings on a computer. I still do as I'm working on book 2, I'm, like, either sitting on the couch watching a show with my husband while I have a laptop in my hands or, or I go to the desk that's next in the living room and while we're watching TV. So it's like, during commercials, I'm like, "Do, do, 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 do," watch the show. So, yeah,
I love
doing
that.
things.
You're still engaged with your family whilst you're writing. I really,
Yeah,
really love
yeah.
that. Did
Yeah,
you
we have
have
a rule in our house that we have to eat at the table all together, so, like, no matter what, I had to leave the writing to come eat, with them as a
I like
family,
that.
so
Oh, I
that's
like that.
definitely on that, so
Oh, I love that. So how much research did you have to do for this book? And what kind of research did you do?
I don't know how I would say how much, but I've definitely like throughout the book, I would definitely be like, what is some weird words they say in 1800? A flummadiddle is
Yeah.
one of those. So I was trying to make sure I incorporated some like because it doesn't really directly say a date, but that's the age, that's the date time frame I'm going with is around the
Yeah.
1800s. And so I was like, when I was thinking about like building that, I'm like, do they have railroads in 1800?
Okay.
So you know, weird questions
Right?
like that because I didn't like I wanted to be kind of consistent. Like, am I going to have a railroad? And and there's not really railroads in 1800. I don't know. Let's look it up. And I mean, there is. But about that time, they started like in 1810 or something. And so
Something
I was
like
like, all
that,
right, we can
yeah.
work with that. Yeah, we can work with that. And so, but that's kind of the weird research. Like that was what I was kind of doing. Um, like, for, like, the characters, so sometimes I would be, like, looking up things for, like, the werewolves, the shapeshifters,
Sure.
and just trying to make sure I was on kind of key with that. One of my sons is a huge, 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 huge Dungeon and Dragons player, like, he plays every single week, and so
Wow.
so I also have that, like, and I grew up with that kinda era, so that kinda that helps fill in a lot of, like, gaps too when you're thinking about, like, fantasy things.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, because a lot of those characters are very similar into that.
So cool. My husband's a Warcraft person, and I know too much about that for someone who does not game.
I was a Diablo person, so growing up,
Oh,
I played a
really?
lot of Diablo. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So I'm not a gamer. I don't have the coordination. I just don't.
Mhm.
I suck. I used to be able to play Wii, like bowling and whatnot. That's about the extent of my gaming. That is so cool, though. I love that. Now, what is one thing that readers might not know about your world or just a story from having read it? Like, is there something that you'd like them to know that maybe we didn't see in the book yet?
Hmm. That was a hard one because it's like I tried to make sure I put a lot out there. I really tried not to have a lot of like making like I wanted you to have some things that you were wondering about, but
Yeah,
not a lot. I didn't want to leave
yeah.
you with like 500 things that you were like, but this didn't get answered, this didn't get answered. I really tried to try to,
Tie
leave
everything
some for
up.
mystery, but not leave everything open. So that was kind of where I left that, but I would say that nothing is as it seems. Everything's gonna can change, and
That's exciting.
so there's more stories to come for sure that will definitely open up more worlds into this. It's not just a book about a dragon in college, so it's going to be a lot more into that.
Okay, that's exciting. Very excited for that. But if you could have a magical power, what would you pick?
I was sitting there thinking about this and I was like, I'm gonna say something wild. Probably mind reading, which is I
Yeah?
know absolutely insane. But like I don't want to actively like read their mind like it just comes to me. Like I don't want to I want to be able to like do it on my own terms.
Turn it
But at the
off.
same time I feel like that's really like invasive. So also like maybe I would want shadows, because like I could do a lot with shadows. I could like be lifted up into the sky. And so that was kind of where I was gonna go with that. I between those two.
See, I would freeze time because I'm a mum. I never have enough time in a day. Freezing time would be excellent. Absolutely
The
excellent.
shadows I could have extra hands, so,
Oh, yeah. You know what? I didn't think of that. Yeah, maybe I'll change my answer. That's a really, really good point. I'm excited to see where her powers go in the next book too. I was like, whoa, where's this going? Now, you're obviously a reader. Do you read a lot of fantasy yourself? And what are you reading right now?
I'm not reading anything because 'cause I'm working on book 2, and I really struggle hard with reading and writing because it really, like, muddies my brain. I have actually not read a whole bunch of fantasy stories.
Hey.
My limit it's very, like, small list. So yeah, my favorite one, have to say my favorite author is probably gonna be Callie Hart.
Yeah.
I've only read Quicksilver, and obviously I'm gonna read the next one. I love her as an inspiration as a person. She's really like a really cool inspiration for people.
Yeah.
For somebody who has like self-published for all these books and has like kept going, and she always posts about like just because I'm big now, I published all these books before, and it was just this book that went off, and I love
Mm.
that as a person, like an inspiration, and so I love
Yeah.
that. So that's
That's
kind
gonna
of
make you feel like
to me.
that there's a chance in the future that you may get picked up by a publisher. I love Callie Hart. I thought Quicksilver was absolutely brilliant. I was on the side of this book was amazing. It was one of my favorites of the year. Like,
Hmm.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So
Yeah,
what's your
yeah, it
favorite
was a good
part
one.
of the what's your favorite part of the writing process?
Probably just letting it go, like, letting my brain really, like, explore on its own and, like, really be able to, like, word vomit on the keyboard, and just get everything out. So and, like, let my imagination go wild. I've always had a really actively wild imagination, and I have a very vivid, kinda thing, like, somebody can describe something, and I'm very vividly seeing it.
Yeah.
That's not you know, growing up, a lot of people tormented me with that.
Aw.
So I'm a very vivid person, and so just letting that happen, letting my brain go, as like an outlet. Writing, like I said, has always been an outlet for me. It has been as a kid for me, even when I wasn't like writing poems, even throughout the years, and I wasn't like writing books. I was journaling. I was constantly journaling. When I was upset, I would journal. When I was mad, I would journal. And so, I've always writing has always been something that's always been open for me. So it's kind of just the part of writing. Do not enjoy editing.
I hear that a lot. Editing is like the devil's part of the work. I get it.
It is. It is.
So I thought we'd do a little literacy of this or that. So I'm gonna tell you two, you're gonna pick one. Do you prefer hardcovers or eBooks?
Both. Um, I like I like to have a pretty shelf,
Me too.
but when I'm going out and about, I like to have them on my to do a read it on my ebook. It's a lot easier,
I'm the same.
simpler when I'm out and about. And also nobody can see what I'm reading.
That's true. That's very true. I'm the same. I'm both too. Yeah. Are you a morning writer or a night writer?
Night owl.
Yeah. Research or inspiration?
Both. A mix of both. I feel like you need both. I need some inspiration, but you also need research. Like,
Yeah.
you just gotta, like, I wanna make sure like the facts match what I'm saying too.
I get it. Mountains or beaches?
Beaches, 100%.
Yeah. You gotta be I live in the Rocky Mountains. It's not fun. We got a lot of snow. It ain't fun.
No, my son lives in Nevada, and he took me around the mountains. He lives by, in Reno, and, yeah, he traumatized me by driving me all around like a crazy madman. No, he wasn't really, he was driving the speed limit, but I felt like I was like, "Oh my god, there's so many curves, there's so many mountains," and I was like, "Oh my god, this is beautiful." I was like, "This is absolutely stunning." I am terrified though, and my
Yeah.
ears were popping, and I was like, "This is not something I wanna live." I was like, "I love the water, though. I've always been a water baby. I'm born in July, so water is my peace."
Nice. I love that. Do you prefer tea or coffee?
Tea.
Yeah, same. Same.
Heh.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Quiet study or busy cafe?
Oh, definitely quiet study. I don't even really like people.
Nah, you know what? Lots of readers don't. I happen to be the complete opposite. I love my books and I love people. I'm a weirdo. I'm a real strange one. Would
It's
you rather
alright.
Yeah, I can live
We
with
all
that.
need I'm weird too, but, it's
I'm
fine.
weird
It's
in a
fine.
different
We all
way.
need a little bit of weird.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that. Would you rather travel or stay home?
Both. I like traveling, but also, like, I don't think I could travel every single week or weekend or something. I also really enjoy climbing into my own bed and, the peace and quiet of my house, kind of thing. But I
I
also
love
like traveling and I like exploring. So it's like I'm torn between it. I want to go explore and see all these things, but I also don't want to leave my house. So
that. I like that. That's honest right there. Do you prefer cats or dogs?
cats, and I don't even own a cat. I have 3
Really?
dogs, but I prefer cats. Yes, I love cats. We don't have cats because last time we fostered some cats and they peed and pooped all over the house, and my husband's like
Yeah,
anti-cat. And so that's why we don't have any cats. I love cats though. So
I like that. We don't have any cats either. My husband's a really big cat person. I'm more dogs and I like big dogs, so it doesn't mix well here. Are you more character driven or plot driven?
both. It has to be both. Like, if you have crappy characters, it don't matter how good your plot is. Like, it don't matter if you have really great characters and your plot is crappy. Like, it's just not, you have to have a mix of both.
That's what I think too. But do you know how many people pick one or the other? It's insane. It's insane. I don't know how they
I
can.
can't do that. Like, I'm always a gray person though. I'm always like, but even if I don't agree with it, I'm always gonna be like the devil's advocate over here, being
Yeah,
like, but what about this side?
yeah. It's necessary. Do you prefer
Yeah.
happy endings or bittersweet conclusions?
That was a hard one because, like, sometimes I want a happy ending, and sometimes the bittersweet conclusion is all right too.
Yeah,
So, it just kind of depends. You were thinking about, you were talking about Callie's book and how she ended that one. If she didn't write a second one, it would have been okay. Like, it wasn't
yeah,
like it left on a huge cliffhanger. It was a very bittersweet ending. I'm glad
yeah,
she wrote a second one because, it's I can't wait to read it. But you know what I mean? Like, she wrote it in a beautiful way that it could have been ended. Like, that could have been it. But
yeah,
obviously, we yearned for more. But
yeah.
also, sometimes we need a happy ending. Like, sometimes when I was a huge, huge Nicholas Sparks. I mean, I'm still am. Don't My books involve a lot of Nicholas Sparks
I
romance.
love them.
Those were that huge growing up, and so like I do love a little happy ending, but also he be breaking my heart with some like a Walk to Remember. That's
Oh.
like he like destroyed me. So
He's one of my favorites too. I just finished his latest one, Remain. Such a good book.
I'll have to go get that one. Yeah,
It's
I
so
haven't read a couple. I haven't read his probably in about maybe a year. I think it's been since I've had the last one I read. But if you go through and like grab all my books through the house, you'll probably find that I have more of his as a collective than anybody else.
I love that. There's something in common. I have a lot of his books. Do you like genre fiction or literary fiction more?
Probably genre.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Literary fiction feels like sometimes you get 300 pages and it didn't go anywhere. It was all like pretty prose and you didn't really get anything from it. That's kind of how I feel. It's not there's some really great literary fiction books out there, but I'm like, that was 300 pages and I still don't know anything else.
I have been there. I've read some books like that. I'm like, what's happening? Like it just yeah. But so it's kind of one of those like it just depends on how it's written too.
Yeah, that's
So
true. So what's worse, reader's block or writer's block?
Writer's block. I can come back to the reading whenever, but writing is like, I have to really get over this. Like, I'm gonna have to get over this or finish
Yeah.
this book, right? But reader's block, I can at least, pause it and come back to it. I do not have very many like DNF books that I have like picked up and been like, I really can't get through this. I've literally have like two or three off the top of my head that I can even think of. So I'm very much one of those like if I'm into the book, I read it and that's where like I hyper focus and I usually read it in 2 days and I neglect everything. I'm reading the book while I'm cooking dinner, you know?
Yeah.
So I get really into books when I read them and so sometimes I've had to take breaks over years because I'm like, all right, I can't do that. I got too fixated on this book and I read too much into it. So now I'm gonna take some breaks from some books,
Yeah.
and so I don't really have like much of a reader's block as some might. So, but for me, it'd be a writer's block because I definitely have had that once, and I was like, oh, and even now as I'm writing book two, I've struggled a little bit more, and I've been like, hey, I really need to like, I'm gonna put this phone down. Actually, I'm gonna like, go turn it off or something and put it away from me because
Yeah.
I keep like getting into a moment where I like, oh, where should I go next? And then I'm like, I'll just pick up my phone and look at Instagram or TikTok instead of focusing on the book at hand. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I need to so yeah.
Yeah. I've been there myself. I get it. So your current work in progress is obviously book 2. When can we expect to be able to buy book 1, and when do you anticipate book 2 being able to come out?
So book one is you can order it now off my website. There's two ways to access that. That's Rosenauer.com or blackwingandshadows.com. You can also order it off Amazon and then it'll be on I think it's also on Tart or on walmart.com it'll be on as well. And then the ebook will be available Kindle only, so that'll be available on Monday.
Cool.
And so that's coming very very soon. And then for book 2, my goal is springtime. We'll see how fast I write. I have a goal of writing 2 chapters a day. Is it happened?
Nice.
No, but that is my goal.
I love it.
So, and I accept that it doesn't always work. I do have a full-time job, so I
Oh,
also,
wow.
do that. And so when I'm writing in the evenings and the weekends mostly. So on the weekends, if there's nothing going on, then I can usually get out, 3 or 4 chapters. And so that'll make up for the lack of it during the week, if you will. And so that kind of makes up for it. But that's my goal. I've been trying to like at nighttime, like get down. And so even if I get one chapter done, I'm happy. But like I'm like,
Yeah.
I can try to do 2, or at least like get working on one and work on the second maybe. So at that rate, if I was going by the rate, the last one I did, I would say I'd be essentially done in January-ish, right? So my goal is to really work on editing a little slower this time and also I learned a lot of things through the self-publishing process and it's really
Yeah.
not something that's like really openly talked about to be honest and like the process of how long it takes to get books and stuff and so one
Mhm.
time this time the next time around I know for sure I want to be able to have a better like stock here before I actually released a book versus waiting for books to arrive because I didn't realize they were going to take 2 to 3 weeks for author books to come.
Yeah, it's
So that's
crazy.
something, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I learned, that it's not always talked about, like, that process of what it's like. Some people are like, oh, just make sure you plan ahead. Well, why? Why do we need to plan ahead? Like, tell me the why. Like, if you don't tell me the why, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just going to break the rules and not going to do it. Like, if you tell me not to do something, I'm going to do it unless you tell me a valid reason why. And so and that really wasn't out there, and I mean, you could probably dig through some, but like really there wasn't, and so that's kind of one thing I really want to focus on this come around for the next
Yeah.
book is to like make sure I'm a little bit more prepared this time when I launch everything.
That's amazing. Now, I've really enjoyed getting to know you. This has been phenomenal for me, but where can my listeners find you on your social medias? Where are you available?
I am on Instagram, JL Rosenauer. I think it says author. If you just type in JL Rosenauer, I'll pop up. And then also on TikTok, JL Rosenauer Books, I think it is. And then also I have a Facebook page. That one I believe is Jerrica Rosenauer author. Until it gets changed in a few like I changed it and then it'll be changed here in a few days.
Yeah.
Or I think Friday's when I'm allowed to change it again.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where that is. And I'm on Goodreads. I'm not active as far as like reading and logging anything, but it is on there. There are reviews on there. So yeah, I think that's it. There's probably a couple more. I've been trying to get on all these things. I really am not a huge social media person. And so it's so hard for me. It's been hard to be
Yeah.
like, all right, I actually have to do all these social media things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the marketing on that aspect is where the only problem that I've actually even really been like, oh, this is probably the hardest part is marketing because I'm
Yeah.
not a social media person.
It's a full-time
You know,
job. It's a full-time job.
yeah, I'd much rather be sitting there writing my book than doing the
Yeah.
social media part. And so that's been hard, but I'm getting there and it's growing. It's growing slowly.
I love it. I love
So
it.
yeah,
I really hope that people will go and look for you on social media and will buy your book. I think I'm gonna buy a hardcover of it because I really enjoyed it. Are you gonna keep, like, the theme going with the covers? The same person who did the last one will do the next one? Like, are they gonna kinda match?
I did it actually.
Did you really?
So I did it. I did all the design work. I did the
Love it.
editing. I did the design of the map in the books.
Wow.
And so I'm naturally a photographer. I used to design way back in the day. So that's kind of that. Yes, I have options. Would you like to see?
Yes, yes,
I
please.
have
We
I have
have some.
options. So I obviously we have like the standard paper book option and then I have the hard book option, and so
That's
although
nice.
it's a little off on the side, whatever, it was right when I sent it to the printer, but that's a huge issue, that's with the printer, so what this is the normal, like, hard book side, and then this is one of the it's got the thing on it. I get
Ooh.
my actual copies today, though, but this is the dark mode option, so, like, first off, it's got these, and they're so beautiful, I worked so hard on
Mhm.
that, and then it's also got, like, this up here, and then also same thing at the very bottom. And then when you open it,
Oh,
it's not.
wow.
So yeah, it's, kind of like that. And so it's like it's a special edition. So like it's also got a full page of the map inside and it's on a full spread of the map for the
Yeah.
for of Yabel instead of like a side. So the other ones, this one's just kind of inverted, but there.
I love
And then
that.
it's got, like, some extra author facts in the very back of the book that are, like, kinda like some fun
I love
facts
that.
about me, you know? And then this is gonna be the special edition. The special edition ones are all the same. They have this front one on it, which is a little
Yeah.
bit different of a cover. So it's the one it's
Yeah.
a and it says, "I'll find you" on it, which is a quote, "I'll always find you" is something he says in the book. And so this one also has also the edge printing onto it.
I love that.
So then it's the same one, kind of
I love
very
that.
similar to that one, but hardcover, different this, and then it's got a full map as well as the edge. And then because I can't go like it's all out. Like if anyone knows me in person, they know I don't just stop at one because that's just not who I am. I'm like a,
Either.
go big or go home kind of person. I've always been that way. My mom just laughs and my dad laughed too because like they know how I am.
Yeah.
So then I have to have this cover too. And it's just a jacketed one. So
Nice.
the only difference with this one is, I changed this so it's gonna be matte instead of, I didn't
Glossy.
like the way the
Yeah.
matte was, or I didn't like how the glossy was, so the
Right.
actual ones are actually gonna be matte. So this will be like one of the very few only glossy ones I'll have,
There you go. You can
and
auction
then
that off.
so it'll be the only one, but I changed it to matte because I think it looks or feels better than it does
Yeah.
the glossy. But this
Yeah.
one just has a jacket on it. That's really the big difference between this one and the regular hardcover one. They're both
Yeah.
the same other than the jacket part of it. So, and then obviously it's got,
I love that. My heart is racing right now. And where can people buy
so yeah.
those?
They can buy those also on my website. The special edition, the black mode option, that one can actually will be able to be purchased on Amazon. And I
Okay.
think that's going to be the only place, Amazon or my website will be the only place. If you order on my website, you get it signed and sent to you. So they'll all be signed in the front. And
So is
then
that just the US only? US only?
yes, I do have an option on there for Canada, but the shipping is
I bet. It's insane.
outrageous. So if you have, I mean, you just won't get the author signature but if you go on Amazon, like I'm not the person, like I promote buying from authors' websites because, the amount authors get from buying from Amazon is really not much at all, right? And
Right.
if you support more by buying them directly from their website. But however, any of my Canadian friends, Amazon might be it for you because shipping was like $25 for one book. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is insane. And I'm like, this is for just one tiny little book, and my dad lives in Michigan, literally like in Detroit, so right across the line. And if I knew, like, he could just go across the line because he's got, dual where he can go, he's got a passport. And as if I knew
Yeah,
he could just go over and ship all my packages for me, I would. But,
it's crazy.
so anyway, that is crazy. I want to offer it more, but like I at the same time, like my part of me is like, I don't want people to have to pay $25 for shipping. So it is on there as an option, but I also understand if you don't want to buy from my website because $25
Yeah,
shipping is crazy.
right.
So you can also buy the hardcover one. This one that's got this is will also be on Amazon as well.
Okay,
The jacketed one, I believe, is this one's only through Ingram.
okay.
So will probably be on BNN and maybe Walmart. I'm not
Right.
100% sure where it all gets distributed to from
That's
there.
so
But this one, you
exciting.
can also get it on my website too.
That's
So yeah.
exciting. You must be excited. Are you gonna go do a thing where you go to the bookstore and take, like, video of you with your book on the shelf?
I
You
mean,
gonna
if
do
it is
that?
on the shelf, if I find it on the shelf, I do have a book signing coming up at the
Oh,
end of November for our local bookstore, and
nice.
so I'll be doing that, and that'll be really cool. So yeah, it'll be, I went and talked to her yesterday. It's a small bookstore, so they really support, small local authors anyway.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if I ever find it at like actually in the store of Walmart, I will definitely be doing that because that will be like the highlight of my entire day, the highlight of my entire month. If I find it at like a B&N store, which we don't have one here locally, like the nearest one's like an
Right.
hour away. And we live in the middle of nowhere. So, but if it ever does, like is in store, yeah, I will definitely, hands down, 100% have a video of me going in the
I
store,
need to see
being
that.
a little geeky out. Yeah, I will definitely like, oh my God. And I'll bring my kids definitely with me because, my daughter will psych out with me. And so, yeah, it'll be
I love
great.
that. I love that. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you wanna share before we wrap this up?
Maybe, I mean, just know that, things are going to change in book two. So, you might have an idea of how things are going or feel that this is very, much like another book because it has dragons or is at Academy, but things are going to shift in book two and you're going to probably be pleasantly surprised. So,
I'm excited. I cannot wait to get my hands on book 2.
yeah, yeah.
I really
I will
hope you
definitely reach out to you when I'm in my like arc reading stuff. So,
please do. I do a lot of art reading, so please do. I'm always here for you.
absolutely. Thanks. I appreciate the support so much.
Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this interview as much as I have had giving it. I'm still vibrating, like, I've got goosebumps. I have learned so much. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. I hope people will go and buy your book. I am actually quite tempted to go to your website even with the shipping costs because I'm in Canada. Like they look really beautiful and I think they'd look really nice up here on my
Yeah,
ship.
absolutely, yeah.
You guys have enjoyed this episode, don't forget to give me a subscribe and a follow on my Spotify and on my YouTube channel. This episode is probably going to be the highlight of my whole year. So I cannot wait to see what you guys think about it. I hope you guys have the great reading weekend that you deserve, and I will see you next week. Take care, readers.